Let's do a welcome back with some Luck and Strange. It's good. Let's go. Everybody, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. You found your way to the Modest Audiophile channel, and my name's Mark. Today, as the intro stated, we're going to discuss David Gilmour's Luck and Strange. So what we'll do is we'll go through the packaging really quick, a little bit about the background of the album, not too long, and then we'll get to how it sounds. And then my final thoughts on my final thoughts. Okay, so let's go. So first off, let's talk about the packaging a little bit. Here's the cover that you've all seen so far. Nice cover. Here's the back. Very nice portrait of David. And as it's a gatefold, you can look at the inside here. Let's see if I get it right. There. I'll put some pictures up as well so you can see it. It's a good solid cardboard stock. It's not too thin. It's practically just right. Very nice packaging. No issues with that whatsoever. It also has a nice soft touch to it. Not that it matters, but it's really nice packaging. On the inside, it did have a little bit of candy. First off, I'd like to say, yeah, it did come with this paper insert. My only beef, really? Well, there might be a couple beefs here, but really, for $35, let's throw in a polyline sleeve, okay? Is that too much to ask? Anyway, we'll put that aside. It has been swapped out since. On the inside here, it comes with a little bit more of candy. It comes with this this booklet, and really on the inside of it, it's all the lyrics, some other nice pictures that I'll try to throw out here as well while we're discussing this. But you get a chance to read all of the lyrics, and then this very nice picture here, and then another nice picture here with his dog. I like that. Again, we'll go through some of the pictures here as well as I'm going through the background. But yeah, each song also shows the writers, vocals, all the participants on this as well, and then a who's who of thank yous on the back page. All right. So as I'm discussing this next part, I'll throw some pictures up there so you can get a better look at it. So a little bit of background here, and then we'll get into how it sounds, all right? So Luck and Strange is the 5th studio album by David Gilmour. It was released on 6 September 2024 by Sony Music. It was produced by Gilmour and Charlie Andrew. Gilmour said that Andrew challenged him musically and was not intimidated by his past work with Pink Floyd. Gilmour's wife, the novelist Polly Sampson, wrote many of the lyrics, which she said addressed mortality and aging. Their children contributed additional vocals, lyrics, and instrumentation. The song Luck and Strange features keyboards recorded in 2007 by the Pink Floyd keyboardist Richard Wright. That's pretty cool. He died in 2008. The album also features a cover of the 1999 song Between 2 Points, originally by the British band the Montgolfier Brothers. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. We'll get to more of that song in a second. That's a very good song. A little bit about the recording and where it was recorded. Luck and Strange was recorded over 5 months at Gilmour's Medina Studio in Hove and at Mark Knopfler's British Grove Studios in London with the producer Charlie Andrew. Gilmour said Andrew challenged him and made him approach his songs in new ways, challenging his habits. He said, quote, "He has a wonderful lack of knowledge or respect for this past of mine. He's very direct and not in any way overawed, and I love that. This is just so good for me because the last thing you want is people just deferring to you." Andrew said he was not, quote, trying to regurgitate another Pink Floyd album or one of Gilmour's solo albums. Yeah, and I think they did a good job in doing just that. All right, so before we get into the overall sound of the album, what I will say is that as far as the condition goes, yes, the album was flat. There was no skips or pops. I'd like to say that it was deadly silent, but it wasn't. In between songs, I did hear a bit of surface noise. And again, for the $35, I would expect a little bit more quieter vinyl, perhaps. I have read on some of the forums where people were having some issues in regards to the overall quality of the album, where they were getting some pops and clicks and all of that. I didn't get that. I did give this a good cleaning with the Humming Guru prior to listening to this, because as you know, not every record manufacturing plant is the cleanest of all places. So suggest that you always give it a quick clean before you put it on for the first time. Yeah, you got the polyline. You did not get the polyline sleeve, and you didn't get the quietest of vinyl. Outside of that, the music was excellent, and we'll talk about more of that here as we go through. That's really going over the condition of it and the overall quietness and all of that. So how does it sound? All right, so let's go over what I'm listening to this on first, then we'll get into the details on how it sounds. I am listening to this on an LP, on an Audio-Technica LP 120 turntable with an upgraded cart. Please see the description below for what cart I am using. It's going through a Pro-Ject 2-box S2 Phono preamp, which is going into my Rotel A11 Tribute integrated amp, and out these Wharfedale Denton 85th Anniversary Edition speakers. All right. So I did a couple decibel checks, and I did the first one on the second song of the album, Luck Strange, and for the low end I was getting 56 decibels, the high end of 89, for an average decibel listening of 82. I did do another dB check on a song called Dark and Velvet Nights, which opens up side 2, and this one came in at a low of 49, which was right at the beginning of the song. A high of 95, and an average listening of 83 decibels. So this album did have a little bit of punch to it, which was nice. Overall, the soundstage was pretty good. You know, this album, this is by no means a holographic album, not 3D or anything like that, but it did present itself very nicely in the soundstage. Soundstage, for me in this room, this is a new room for me, for those that have been watching for a while. My speakers are about 8 feet apart. I'm sitting about 8 feet away. And as you can see behind me, the wall is, 4 feet left of the speaker. The overall soundstage was extending outside of the walls in here to about 5 or 6 feet or so. And the overall height of the soundstage was above the ceiling. So I was getting about 4 feet higher than the tweeters. Pretty good soundstage. As far as imaging and depth, imaging was really good. It did have great separation of instruments. Everything was in its proper place with really no bleed through. And the overall depth, again, not a holographic album. The depth was from the speakers back. So my speakers are sitting about 3 feet in front of the wall, and all that perception of depth was coming from the speakers backwards. It was good. It was good depth. I'd say it was a good solid 2 feet or so. This is not a 45 RPM Analog Productions album or a MoFi album or anything like that, but it was pretty good. Did not take away anything from the music whatsoever. The music on this is top notch, and we'll get to that in a few seconds here. Another thing I'll say about the overall presentation of the soundstage, and probably this has a lot to do with the mixing of the record, but you get the sense of space and air throughout this record, and that was fun. They really played with space, meaning it did give you that sense of depth. You did hear stuff in the room when it wasn't necessarily there, if that makes sense. You were aware of the soundstage, even if the instruments were not pushing all the way left or right, if that makes sense. Good soundstage. Space and air was present throughout the album. As far as bass goes, it had enough. Yeah, you really weren't left wanting for bass, but it did have, it was reserved a little bit. Again, in the mix that I was listening to in this room, the bass was this is not a bass monster by any stretch. Good bass, I would say, but it wasn't overwhelming by any stretch. The mids were excellent. The mids, you're really hearing the vocals, really strong vocals, great instrumentation sounds, guitar sounds, the piano. Strings were very good. Treble, I said nice and enough. The strings, the high end of the strings, the high cymbal crashes, and the piano. There were a couple songs where it really started tickling those keys in the upper register, and that was very nice as well. So overall, bass, mids, and treble. You're not left wanting for anything, but it's very evenly apportioned. I don't know if that came out right, but it's good. Not the best, but it's good. It's really good. Again, it doesn't take away from the music. The music's excellent. All right, the tones. It's warm. What I put here is, it's overall warm presentation. And again, that's not a hard thing coming from my system. But you did get a sense of freshness. So overall throughout this album, you did get the classic David Gilmour tones coming out of his guitar. For the most part, the vocals, although he did get up and stretch his vocal range quite a bit in this album, which was really, really nice to hear. But you got a sense of modern approach to song creation. And so, yeah, I guess what I'd say is you got a modern flavor, but more than sprinkled with all those great classic David Gilmour tones, if that makes sense. I think it's a great marriage for this album. Before I get on to some of the things in the songs, what I will say is this album, it will become part of my rotation. I like it. I like this album a lot. The more I listen to it, the more I get into it. I'll call out some of the things in some of these songs that I thought was most interesting and then get you out of here real quick, okay? All right, so we'll go into side one. Side one starts with a song called Black Cat, and it's really set up as an intro for, I think, Luck and Strange. This Black Cat's all of about maybe a minute and a half long, and you get a nice intro with the piano, some strings, and a little bit of David's electric guitar. It's just a nice piece of short music to get the record started. And immediately you hear the guitar and you're like, yep, it's David Gilmour. Not unmistakable David Gilmour. Second song is called Luck and Strange. What I put here, it's a mid-tempo song. It's got a nice groove to it. The lyrics do suggest a look back, as I stated in the intro here. You do have that sense of looking back from time to time, or loss, mortality, things of that nature going throughout most of the songs in the album. I thought lyrically this was one of the strongest albums that he's come out with in a long time. Really, really enjoy the lyrics, and you can hear all the lyrics as well. David, for the most part, in all of these songs, his vocals are center of the image, and they're very clear. You don't have to strain yourself to hear what is being said. And in addition to that, I will say his wife and David, they have something to say in this album. What it is, I'm not quite sure yet, but they definitely have something to say. Again, mortality, looking back, really, really nice lyrics. All right, so back to Luck and Strange. This is one of the ones right away where he's hitting those high registers, the high register in his vocals. He's really pushing himself, and it comes through wonderfully. I love to hear when David gets really high up there in his vocal range. Vocals are center, and they're very, very clear. The keyboard is, there's a nice part in here where you've got the keyboards coming out of the left side of the soundstage, and you've got his guitar coming out of the right side of the soundstage, and there's some interplay there between the two different instruments, which is really nice to hear. The overall, what I do want to pull out here is the hi-hat. You do have a hi-hat, which is in the back left. It's really crisp, and it does stand out very, very nicely throughout the song. Luck and Strange, good song, really good song. I enjoy listening to it quite a bit. All right, on to the third song called The Piper's Call. Piper's Call, what I put here right away is very good imaging on this song. You got a better center image of David's vocals, if you can get even crisper than the previous song. Real, close your eyes to listen to this, and David's right there. Great, I put great use of space with the strings and percussion in this song. it does lend itself, again, what I mentioned earlier is you do get that sense of space in a soundstage that may not seem overly large at times. You're still hearing the space. You have a part in this where you've got the acoustic guitar, which is playing beautifully, and then it turns into the electric guitar comes in following that. And the guitar, David's electric guitar, has got some nice crunch to it. Some of the tones you will recognize. It's very, very nice. Great overdrive sounds in the solo I put when he does break out that electric. Again, a really nice song and fun to listen to. Quite like this one as well. On to song number 4, called A Single Spark. This one did have a large soundstage. It's big and wide and tall. The overall vocals were coming in center, in clear. They were raised higher in the soundstage. They were, in this room, my ceiling is probably about 4 feet higher than the tweeters. And the vocal center image was coming, right at that ceiling mark, if not a little bit higher. Good soundstage, big, wide, and tall. This also has some pretty good depth as well. I put here very nice layering to this song, which improves that sense of overall depth, where you can definitely discern the different instruments in which is in front of each other within the soundstage. I put the keyboards in the back right versus the guitar solo up front and center. Were really nice playing off of each other. Again, the mix of the album and the engineering of the album was done very, very well. Lots going on here. I've listened to this probably a half a dozen times now over the course of the last week or so. And every time I listen to it, I get more out of it. So that's great. Not bored of it by any stretch. So song 5 is really just an instrumental here. I'm probably going to mispronounce it. It's called Vita Brevis. And it's, again, really just a setup for the last song called Between 2 Points, which I stated earlier is a cover by a band called the Montgolfier Brothers, which was originally done in 1999. In this case, we've got his daughter, Romany Gilmour, is doing the vocals of this song. Before I go any further on the song, I have to say, this one may be my favorite song on the album. Yeah, it just may be. I mean, there's a couple other really good ones on here as well, but for whatever reason, this song is wonderful. I think her vocals on this song are really, really good. I put beautiful acoustic beginning and then with the strings. Romany's vocals are center, big, and very, very clear. Very clear vocals. The music supports the vocals very nicely. Excellent lyrics to that band that did it back in 1999. I put the backing vocals on here were extraordinary. I think other Gilmour family members were adding to the background vocals. This song is very modern sounding, but yet you do get a lot of David's classic tones coming out here as we get to the guitar solo. It's a very emotional and a good groove I put. Got a nice amount of reverb on his solo. Crisp drums, especially the snare. You're getting a little bit of a punch in this song. And the last thing I put here is, could be a movie soundtrack. I mean, this song, I'm thinking of, the end of a movie or something to that effect, where this song could be rolling over the credits. This is a really good song. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm gravitated to go back to it more so than other songs on the album. One of the things I did say, one of the lyrics in here that is also chanted by the background singers, or the backing vocals rather, comes out of the bottom right-hand side of the soundstage, and they're saying, "They're right, you're wrong." And yeah, very, very cool song. If you get a chance and you haven't listened to this album yet, go and stream this song first. It's really good. Hey everybody, just want to say thank you very much for finding your way over to this channel. I appreciate it. If this is your first time here, thank you so much. If you are a repeat offender, thank you even more. Hey, if you like this type of content, yeah, please go down there and hit like. I appreciate it. If you're looking for ways to support this channel, by all means, do something that's free. Go down there and hit the subscribe button. It's not going to hurt you. If you don't want to be subscribed later down the road, you can always pull the plug. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much. Now back to David Gilmour's Luckin' Strange. This is a really, really good album. All right, side two. Side two starts off with a song called Dark and Velvet Nights. This one also has a nice, wide, and tall soundstage. Very nice soundstage. What I liked about it, you got the center vocals again, and then you do have string accompaniment that is behind it. If I put full strings behind the center vocals, and then drums behind that as well. Again, lending itself to sensing more depth in the song. It's got a modern beat with some classic Gilmour, which is a theme we're going for in this album. Nice solo coming out of the center, electric solo, and then it's kind of like going back and forth with the strings. So a little bit of interplay between David's electric guitar and the overall string section. I put great guitar tones with reverb during the verses here. So as David's singing, you're getting a little bit of scatty guitar coming out of the right-hand side of the soundstage. And yeah, just a really nice overall, unmistakable David Gilmour. I got to call out some lyrics in this song because I thought, again, this goes to more the mortality type of lyrics. And in the fourth verse, these lyrics they stuck. These are really good lyrics. Don't like to make promises that I can't keep. Don't want to hurt this old heart or wreck my sleep thinking how we'll part. Will I hold your hand or you be left holding mine? Between this breath and then, there's this airlock of time. Cool lyrics, man, just cool lyrics. In between Dark Velvet Nights and the second song on the second side called Sings, you're getting some surface noise. You're getting that swooshing noise between tracks. Yeah, for $35, again, I would have hoped that wouldn't be there. Didn't take away. You don't hear it during the music. In fact, it doesn't. It really just comes up during the in between songs. Doesn't take away anything from the music whatsoever. Either it disappears entirely or I'm not hearing it. Anyway, let's go on to the second song called Sings. Maybe it's this. I have not. This one hasn't really affected me yet, or I haven't found a way to really get inside this song. It's a good song. Decent soundstage, decent depth, nice layering in here. I put very nice image, but by no means holographic or 3D, okay? I put nice bass notes near the end where the bass notes are coming from the center. They're a little bit pushed back in the soundstage and they're floating there pretty nice. Some nice bass notes at the end. All right, let's go to the last song on the album, which is called Scattered. And as this song starts, you get to hear you hear a heartbeat. Not quite what you're hearing on Dark Side of the Moon, but you hear a heartbeat to begin the song. Very, very visual lyrics in this, on the entire album, but in this song in particularly. The lyrics are putting in your mind's eye a visual scene, if you listen. I put good depth, wide soundstage. There is a part in the song where you have cymbals and piano, predominantly the only music coming out of the soundstage, and the interplay between them is very cool. The piano notes are hanging out in space, in and amongst the cymbals. Very cool, very cool. Nice drum sound in this as well. The drums are very wide in the soundstage. You got a very tasty acoustic guitar solo, which is coming out of the left side of the soundstage, with strings across the soundstage, drums in the center, and keyboards on the right. And again, a very good use of space within the soundstage. After the acoustic solo, you get into an electric, and the acoustic solo predominantly is coming out of the left side of the soundstage. Once that ends, you have the electric guitar comes in for its solo, and it's coming out of the center of the image. It's piercing at times. I mean, this is classic David Gilmour. I put classic Pink Floyd build-up, right? You're building up to a crescendo of this song, and then it lands with a final verse, and then it ends with more heartbeat. At least that's what I heard. Very cool song. I like this song quite a bit, and this one kind of makes you want to just flip the whole thing over and start over again. Very nice. My final thoughts on this album. Final thoughts are, this is a really, really good album to listen to. I think David Gilmour had stated that he thinks this was his best work since Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know about that, but it's awesome. It really is a joy to listen to. You're getting those classic David Gilmour tones, that vibe, yet on a modern canvas, if that makes sense. It's a great marriage of modern sounds, modern soundscape, with some classic David Gilmour / Pink Floyd tones. So that's it, everybody. David Gilmour's Luck and Strange, a thoroughly enjoyable album. I really, really did enjoy this, and I think you will too. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, if you're a David Gilmour fan, do yourself a favor. Go out there, get yourself a copy of this. It's everywhere. Put it on the turntable, or stream it, or do what you need to do. But most importantly, find some time for yourself. Because if not now, when are you going to do it? Right? When are you going to do it? Grab your favorite beverage, be it some green tea, some coffee, maybe a little bourbon. Kick back at the end of the day, put your feet up, dim the lights a little bit, and take a listen to this. You will enjoy it, I promise you. Good stuff here. And that's it. So thank you very much. I appreciate you tuning into the Modest Audiophile channel. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, take care, everybody.